So in this video I want to speak about one of the coolest characters that I've encountered in Final Fantasy XIV. I just finished Heavensward recently before Endwalker came out, and now since Endwalker has been out and there are all these issues with the queue times and whatever, I decided to stop playing a little bit, take a little bit of a break and focus a little bit on Elder Scrolls Online, which is also a pretty cool game. But in any case, as I said before, there's a difference between the story and the lore of the game. And now on this channel, well, the story is very cool. What I'm mainly interested is about the lore, about what they are trying to explain about this universe, about Eorzea, about the nature of reality in this realm. So one of the coolest characters that I met was Isael, Lady Iceheart. As everything in Final Fantasy XIV, you're going through the story and everything is a mystery. You don't really know what's going on. You see this Lady Iceheart, who is supposed to be a villain, and I mean she's done like bad things and stuff, but she tells you that she's doing everything for a righteous cause. Like you, she seems to know, she thinks that you are on the wrong path. She thinks you have been misguided. You don't understand the larger scheme of things. She mentions that she's doing what she does for Hydaelyn. A little bit later on, you realize that, like you, she has been having these encounters with Hydaelyn. She has this power of the echo within her. The story moves forward. She tells you about the story of Shiva. You learn more about the dragons, and at the beginning I thought the whole story about the dragons was kind of cliche, kind of like a little bit lazy, but then they go a little bit deeper into the dragons and it gets very interesting. They turn out to be these majestic creatures. Of course, many games, many mythologies think of these dragons as these very intelligent beings, even shapeshifters, beings from another dimension, which have all this ancient wisdom and knowledge and whatnot. And later in the game they actually do that with the dragons, and they tell you they are one of the primordial beings created in the universe. So it gets very interesting. I'm probably gonna make a video in the future about that, but it's not the main theme of this video right now. So what I want to bring here is that Isael, this Lady Iceheart, she thinks that Saint Shiva, who was the one who achieved this peace with the dragons when the Elezen and the dragons were at war, she achieved this peace by understanding them, by getting to know that the dragons were these majestic creatures. And there's even a little bit of an insinuation of a love story between her and Reisvalga. And it's quite interesting. They don't go in detail, but they use elements from these mythological stories of gods and goddesses and beings and humans and mortals kind of mingling together and, you know, giving way to creation and whatnot. So there's a few elements of that in the... But in any case, Lady Iceheart, she thinks that Shiva is somehow using her as an avatar, that she is coming back through her with the mission to stop this war between Elezen and the dragons. Now the interesting part is that she not only thinks that she is this avatar of Shiva, she becomes Shiva herself. There's this one scene when you're fighting, I can't remember the name of this primal, but he's like the bug guy, something like that, and she uses the crystals that were used to summon him by the beast tribes, and she manages to transform herself into the primal, which is called the primal. It's the Saint Shiva, the goddess. She becomes her, and she actually fights this primal. Now you also fight her before that happens, so she can go back and forth. She becomes the goddess herself. So she's not just thinking that she is the goddess, she actually manifests this divinity, and that got me thinking. She is there's this difference that the game starts to make, and they start to pose this conundrum towards you. So the beast tribes, which seem to be these lower forms of intelligence, the idea how they explain these gods, these primals, is that they exist in the world of the non-physical, and they have to be summoned by beast tribes or by humans or by whoever through the use of crystals, through the use of... It has to do with the subconscious mind, with sort of... all MMORPGs, some of the ancient mythologies and philosophies and magic and the arcane and the occult and whatnot, they have this idea of summoning. Now, Final Fantasy XIV brings something interesting, which is a little bit of a more structured way of summoning and a little bit of a more structured procedure and explanation on how all of this is happening. There's this world of ether. They explain to you life and death. I talked about this in the previous video. They explain to you how things work, how this world of non-physical where these primals live eternally, and they just manifest into the flesh. And actually in this cinematic, that Primal calls her a goddess clash in flesh, and I thought that was amazing because she's becoming the goddess. Now, while the beast tribes, they summon these basic primals, Isael is not summoning a primal. She is becoming the primal. She becomes the avatar of the primal. And that's what she thinks. She thinks she's the avatar, but then later you find a big lore bomb where they tell you the truth about Isael, this Lady Iceheart. But what they are trying to tell you here, I believe, is that more advanced forms of intelligence can do more than just summoning the primals, and in most cases they become servants to them. And sort of this is one of the things that I was talking about when I was streaming this. What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the beast tribes or their primal? Because it's all a game of the subconscious mind of the beast tribes summoning the primal, creating the primal somehow, even giving it life. So this is how they explain divinity in Final Fantasy XIV. There are no gods, no goddesses. It is the collective consciousness which creates gods. But now in the case of Isael, which is an Ellison, which is, well, I mean, you would think that the more humanoid forms, the higher civilizations opposed to the beast tribes would create a higher form of collective consciousness, bringing a different type of god or goddess. And this is what they are kind of going into. So as you move forward the story, you actually go to the heavens, quote unquote, and you meet the place of dragons. You have an audience with Racebilger, which is the main thing that you're doing this whole story, which is super cool. Like this little zone that you go into and the way that you summon Racebilger, and he comes on and he actually has feathers. It's like the traditional idea of the dragons. And he does not speak English, or I guess Japanese in the original game. He speaks the dragon language. He came up with a whole dragon, and this is like a 15-minute cinematic with dragon language. But in any case, he is confronted with Isael, and Isael, she's all excited, wanting to see Racebilger because she thinks she's Shiva. They have this sort of love story going on. She's met with a very disheartening situation. Racebilger gets hostile and tells her that she is not who she thinks she is. He explains to her that whatever she is was created by herself. This is a shadow made of her own quote-unquote fancy. That was just bloody amazing, because there's a lot of implications there, but he tells her that. He tells her of a story of his fellow brood who thought they were summoning ancient gods or ancient dragons or something like that, but they were not. They were conjurations of their own mind. The gods and goddesses, they are not summoned. What they become are shadows of their own creation. So that actually got me thinking. I mean, in this scene, the Isael, Lady Iceheart, she becomes very disheartened, and she is like, you can see her whole world crumbles upon her, and the cinematic is so well made. The emotion that she expresses is so good. This is one of the reasons this game is so good. It's all very immersing. But in any case, it got me thinking. In a way to redeem Isael a little bit, it is one of the possibilities with the realm and with the universe that they created in Final Fantasy XIV for these humanoids. She did not summon Shiva. Shiva was not the one who answered her call. She did not become an avatar of Shiva. It was something else. Now, was this a shadow? Was this a shadow being? Was this imagination? Was this Isael herself? She literally became a goddess on her own right. She became divine by her own will. And I found this completely amazing. Even though she thought she was Shiva by mistake or by her own fate, by her own creation, she still did not just summon a primal like the Beast Tribes. She became a primal just because she thought she was one. This is within the possibilities of Ellison, of humanoids, of whatever race in Final Fantasy people play. This is one of the possibilities that they have, if they believe so. Now, this is one of the biggest themes in MMORPGs and in ancient mythologies. This idea that humans can become gods and goddesses. And they allow this possibility here. Now, the whole thing here is very sad because it's like, okay, she is not Shiva. I personally believe that does not take away merit of what she achieved. She actually became a goddess herself, and Alphino actually sort of intercedes when she sees Isael just plummeting to the floor on her disgrace. And he says, whatever is the case, her intentions are pure. She wants to end this war, and we have gotten so far because of her. Now that left me with a lot of questions. It is indeed, and she does tell you that she was in contact with Hydaelyn. She was one of these warriors of light, I guess, trying to do good in the world. The whole thing about Final Fantasy XIV is about doing good in the world, about saving Eorzea. But not only that, it's just about, the whole thing is so wholesome. The whole thing is all about being good, being righteous, about getting rid of anything evil and anything that is negative. And I find the whole theme so very wholesome.
The time has come to use Hydaelyn's gift.
Oh, fail.
Much blood has been spilled in my name. And for what? For a false cause that I created for want of the warmth of companionship. Saint Shiva, pray Svelga, pray forgive this fool. But even now, I cannot let go of my dream. My dream of a tomorrow in which no child need freeze alone in the snow. Svelga.
Is that Azel? What does she mean to do?
O goddess, born of mine own hopes and dreams, for the last time, I beseech you. Fill this vessel with your light, still the hatred within our hearts, and bless us with eternal grace!
It is something to ponder upon. It does not matter that she was not Shiva herself, actually. Perhaps it is what she needed to believe in order to achieve what she achieved. Now, we have to take into account that she was in contact with Heidelin as well. She possessed the power of the Echo. Now, it seems that all the individuals who possess the power of the Echo have some sort of larger mission that they have to accomplish in the world, and I find this quite interesting because it's the same with Minfilia later on, and so on and so forth. You are the Word of Light, you're doing this, it ties into the hero archetype, and now this ties into some of the real life philosophies that we're starting to find out. It ties into the basic question of the meaning of life and all these things. So is there a bigger purpose to life, to our own dramas, to our own stories, or are we just here passing by, just creating whatever we want to create and living the lives that we want to live? Or is there something larger at hand? And the way that they tie divinity in the whole thing, I think this is one of the reasons why this game has been so successful. Because we live in a world entrenched by nihilism, by nonsense, and by distractions, and by negativity, and this game is completely about getting rid of anything negative. It's about wholesomeness, as I mentioned. It's about creating equality in the world, creating opportunities, unifying the tribes, unifying the peoples of the world. It's about believing and hope and all of these things. I know as the game goes on it gets very existential. I've been seeing some of the reactions to Endwalker and some of the other expansions, and I must say I am very interested in what they're gonna have to say about it. So the reason why I'm interested as well is because, as I said, I do some real life research on these themes and on some of the reports and some of the stories that people are putting forward, not only the ancient philosophies or the ancient texts, but modern reports of people who have visions, who claim to have some sort of contact with divinity. And the true reports and what this game is showing is not so far away from each other. The very idea that there might be a force in the universe which is trying to unite, to solve, to get rid of negativity, to use certain individuals to bring literally light into the world. Perhaps it's not something that only exists in fantasy. If you would like to know more about the lore surrounding these fantasy narratives and how they perhaps connect to real life theories and philosophies, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, as I will try to find these connections and explore the possibilities that these lores can provide. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.